Good evening, Superkickin with Steven fans. That's your right. Superkickin with Steven right here, ready to give you a truncated version of our show tonight because we are just going to give you all the Backlash predictions. Greg will be in the background updating us on Suns and Mavericks as they're battling down the fourth quarter with the Suns down with a possible tied series heading into Game 5. So Game 4 going down to the wire. Well, not to the wire, but a little bit of back and forth action there. So, Greg, and of course, I almost forgot, Greg. We have to say happy freaking Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, all the moms to be, all the moms that are foster moms, all the moms that are, moms of real life or real babies. Greg, there is two sets of moms. I am very sorry. I am not saying Mother's Day to. That is the fur mamas and the plant mamas. I'm pulling a Larry David right now, Craig. I am not saying Mother's Day to those people. So I'm sure there will be backlash.
Nice.
Against me on that, but hey, I'm sorry if the baby is not officially, a human. I am not giving you a Mother's Day shout out. So, yeah, that's my Larry David moment of my day, Greg. But if Mr. T was here, he would still be shouting. I think Mr. T is still talking about his mama from his Hall of Fame speech many moons ago. So,
yeah.
Happy Mother's Day to all the awesome moms in whatever capacity you might be a mom. So, but yeah, Greg, how about your Suns and Mavericks? It's Mavericks up by 8 right now, it looks like, and it might be a tight series after tonight.
It's possible. 4:01 left from what I'm seeing, and the Mavs are up by 11 points. But no lead is safe when you talk about the Phoenix Suns. They get hot in a second, and that lead can disappear real quick. So it's not over yet. 4 minutes is plenty of time to get something done. Um, and absolutely happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And I will get in and double down on your Larry David moment. Plant mamas and fur mamas, no, you don't count. So you got to find something else to raise that is more dependent on you.
You know what I'm going to do, Greg? Let's just make a day for pet mothers and fathers. Just give them a day. We already give out Arbor Day. We give out Labor Day anymore. Come on now. Does Labor Day mean anything? No. So just give them an unofficial holiday to their own. And I will say happy pet parent day on that day. Just make it August 32nd.
There you go. We'll pass that through the legislature and see if it gets approved.
Yes, of all the stuff that the nation that we are worried about right now, Greg, is giving more holidays. By the way, can we just talk about how awesome this shirt is? I
Look
just
at
got to
this
say, look
right
at this
here.
shirt. This is I never got to talk about it, Greg, but the Squared Circle Expo from about a month ago was nothing short of stupendous. And this shirt I bought so I could get a free selfie with the man himself. I was trying to find him on the shirt, Mr. Rikishi. So I bought this shirt. And he goes, "Hey, Oos, you get a free selfie." So I got a free selfie with Oos. I feel really dumb saying that because I feel like I'm way too hasty in that regard. But anyways, I got a free picture with Rikishi. No stink face included. So I did ask him, Greg. I go, who is the one person, if you could stink face anyone, that you would have? And he said Taker. Because Taker supposedly refused to give the stink face. So he was hoping.
Nice.
And of course, then, we did mention on the Young Rock, we did have the Roman and Rock stuff. So, yeah. And he said he would like to be in the Rock's corner for that match. So maybe we could see some Rikishi action next WrestleMania. And he can be in the corner of the Rock. That would be something to watch. So, but anyways, let's just get right into it. This is Backlash, and we went before on air. Let's do picture-in-picture. We can see the whole freaking Happy Corbin, Madcap Moss. Madcap Moss with some fresh music, a new little Titantron, still same stupid suspenders look great. Once we get rid of that, I'll be fine. But right now, he's still rocking that. Who in the world are you going with, Greg? Because I really feel like it's going to be Corbin, and that probably doesn't need to happen.
Yeah, I'm liking the makeover for Madcap. The new Titantron, the new music, it's nice. Um, next step is to upgrade the gear, and I think it's coming. Just got to be a little bit more patient and give him a complete makeover. And it may start tonight with the big win and just being free of the Corbin shackles, and we can end this whole rivalry. So I'm going to go the other way and say that Madcap gets the win, and then we can finally be done with it, and Corbin and Madcap can go their own way.
This does feel like it should be a one and done, but I am so scared that it's just going to keep going. So I'm going Corbin, Greg, but I don't want to. As you can tell me, I'm like Pat McAfee. Me and McAfee, Pat McAfee needs to come on here so we can just trash Baron Corbin, who I have officially been blocked by Greg, so therefore I can officially trash him.
Nice.
So he has no reason to listen to me. But I am going to go Corbin. If Madcap gets the win, I do agree it needs to just stop. Just move on from both. So, I think this will probably be middle of the night type match, just because you'll need some sort of cool down moment. I feel like that'll be
True.
it. But Greg, I totally agree with you. Like, I want Madcap to pick up the win, but I I just feel like WWE is strong on Baron Corbin still. I mean, look how long it had been until somebody had actually kicked out of the end of days. I mean, it took Drew McIntyre this year. Like, that's a long ass time that no one. I mean, I don't even, I don't even know if Roman got hit with it, but no one had kicked out of that yet. So next up, how about this one? I keep going back and forth because I think Lashley really got the surprise win. I think we both didn't perceive Lashley getting the win, and remember we had no MVP there, so I feel like Almost is going to get the win here. I do think this will be like a trifecta of matches. Maybe the payoff will be on Raw, sometime, and maybe there's some stipulation there. But I do feel like this will be Almost as like comeback win against Lashley. How about you, Craig?
Yeah, I agree. They're just starting to get moving with the whole um, MVP switching side angle and how he's going to back Omos and the rivalry against his uh, previous mentor. So, or not mentor, but protege, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting matchup optic wise with Lashley and Almost. The match at WrestleMania was good, not great, but it was good, and more importantly, it was believable. Um, so I think it's going to carry on a little bit longer, just to you need to flesh it out for Almost to get him some more credibility, and beating a guy like Lashley is going to help him do that. And after Almost picks up the win, which would be my prediction, then you can set up a big uh, kind of trilogy match in the cage or some type of specialty match,
Yeah.
and just really go for that star making type of performance. So uh, I'll go ahead and put Almost in the winning column for this one as a catapult to a big payoff at the end.
And if we could maybe give Almost some sort of submission, then that kind of evens the odds against Lashley because he has, the hurt lock. But
Right.
also on Monday night, we saw a little tease. I don't think it's going to happen, but Cedric Alexander trying to get back in the good graces of MVP. I think we both agree, Greg, that probably should happen, but it's probably not going to happen. I mean, unfortunately, I think Cedric Alexander's on the outs. Do you foresee anything with maybe Cedric Alexander maybe getting back with Lashley, or are you kind of of my mindset where I just feel like the writing is there that Cedric's on the outs, maybe AEW bound, Impact bound. I don't know, maybe independent run for a little bit. So it just feels like, the time has come for Cedric to either kind of get going again or to, have that unfortunate pink slip, which I kind of wonder if it's going to be, sooner rather than later with some of these guys. What do you think about Cedric Alexander with MVP possibly realigned, Greg?
It's definitely a possibility. You could reinvent the Hurt Business, but almost as the star, and kind of rotate everything around him and the Alexander, and bring back Shelton in to add to the heel ambiance to it, and that looks makes it almost look meaner by proxy. So I would be all for reinventing the Hurt Business with almost at the head. Do the same thing. Um, the suits, dress almost up. Give them a different type of image. Because right now he just looks kind of out of place. But when you're his size and with his appearance, you're going to look out of place. But put him in a sharp, tailored suit, doing the whole Hurt Business type of uh, swagger to him. You got something. So I would be all for reinventing the Hurt Business and doing that. Aside from that, if that's not the way they're going to go, I think we're going to see Cedric on a release list sometime soon.
Yeah. And his wife is already kind of on, she's been away from AEW, so I think both of them maybe just do an independent run, maybe reinvent themselves, a la Matt Cardona and his wife. I mean, look how well they've done.
Absolutely.
I think Cedric has something to him that he could, kind of get a good run here and there. So, I'd be interested to see, like you said, definitely have to get it tailor made for Almost. I don't think he just go to Men's Warehouse and say, hey, I need a suit to fit me. I don't know about big and tall. Like
Yeah.
he's got to have some specialty stuff made for him. So, let's not do. There we go. All right, I kind of messed that one up. But this is the one, Greg. Do we think this steals the show again for the evening? Because I think this has the best potential, for match quality. And I think their last match was such a high tier. And this is another one that, could maybe go Hell in a Cell next month. I'd be okay if we don't necessarily do a title match at Hell in a Cell. Howard have a title defended in there. I think we need some sort of bad blood feud. This is my pick for one of those. I do think Seth Rollins picks up the win this time, probably by crook, or hook, some sort of way. So, you could almost get the opposite too. Maybe Seth picks up a quick win, and that kind of, leaves Hell in a Cell to really pay it off. I wouldn't be surprised if they go that route as well. But I see this is all set to win tonight. How about yourself, Greg?
I don't buy the bad blood angle, because just watching it has not seemed as contentious as other rivalries have. Um, and part of it, I blame Seth for really not bringing it on, bringing the heat, standing in the ring with Cody and dancing around and doing this little Joker laugh. That's not going to make us, beg to see more. The match at WrestleMania was awesome. So we'll give them that. It was, at least top two as far as match of the night, if not number one. So they got that going for them. But I think they've been coasting on the fact that we want to see the rematch, and there's not really much heat going between them, aside from last week's Monday Night Raw, but they finally got physical with each other. It's just been very pedestrian. And, you want to build up the bad blood. This is not how you do it. It's been very tame and just them standing in the ring doing and trying to out pun each other kind of thing. So I'm not in on the bad blood because they haven't really aimed at that target for me. It doesn't feel like a hated rivalry. These guys can't stand each other. They want to beat each other's brains out. That's not how it looks. So, it's almost a mutual admiration society. And, that's not making me, riveted to see it. I'm more interested in a different match on this card than I am to this. But I agree with you that this is probably going to be the best match of the night again. So, as far as my prediction, though, um, just because I think it's going to be, this can't be where it ends, that Seth does find his way to cheat his way to a win, and maybe that is the launch point for, um, you know, the animosity and wanting to, go at each other on site and, build up to a Hell in a Cell type match.
So, you're going with Seth.
Yes, going with Seth.
Sorry. Sorry, I had a brain freeze there, so I apologize. So, speaking of Hell in a Cell, is this where you were going, Greg?
Yeah, this match could be great. Um, I believe that this is where we're going to see a new member come to Edge's assistance with Damian Priest Bart from ringside. And as AJ is about to, pick up the win, this mystery figure, comes out of the shadows and um, swings the tide in Edge's favor. So I think this is the night we get the third member of whatever Edge is calling his horde now, and
Judgment Day.
Judgment Day.
Yeah,
This,
that's what they were calling. Do you have a name for that figure, or do you want to leave it to the people to decide, Greg?
it's not the best faction name I've ever heard, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. But I think it's going to be Rhea Ripley, and like we've been speculating for weeks now, and she's going to be the one that swings the tide for Edge, because we're going to get a great one-on-one match for, I figure, a good 20 minutes back and forth, and then she's going to pop up out of somewhere and cause AJ to lose the match. So
You know what's interesting? I've seen the name Finn mentioned. Do we like the idea of Finn being there? I still think you could have Rhea. I don't mind a 4 or 5 person faction for Edge. The more people he can, help mentor, the better, obviously. What about the idea of Finn joining up with Edge and kind of getting that, demon persona back?
I don't love it. I would be open to it. Um, me and my love for Finn,
That's what I was
and
curious, yeah.
wanting to see him get back on top. And I would love to see heel Finn. I don't think we've really seen heel Finn. The closest thing we've seen to heel Finn is NXT, and even then he was kind of a tweener. So
Yeah.
kind
Like
of
the return, the more
right,
second time down.
he's more anti-hero
Yeah.
than being a heel. So I don't think we've really ever seen heel Finn before. So just from that aspect, it would be fun. I would like to see it. Um, him and Edge and Priest, yeah, if they do it right, it could be great. So I'll give it that. But it's kind of like the Lakers and bringing in all the all stars off all the other teams. Is only one basketball, and
Yeah.
not everybody's going to be happy. So with Finn and Edge in the same faction, I don't know. Um, so Rhea would make more sense to me just because you still have essentially newbies with Priest and Rhea and as the undisputed leader. With Finn in there, you sense the inevitable power struggle. So, um, I don't love it, but as far as helping Finn get over and presenting a new side, I would be all for it. So I'm
Especially
still
if you
pushing
keep,
for Rhea.
yeah, and if you kept it as a hooded figure tonight, and then maybe Edge, unveils for tomorrow or him. I've also thought about Champa. I think Champa could use, I say that as a young guy. He's in his late 30s, Greg, but new to the Raw roster, a nice push for him would be being aligned with Edge. I think. Um, so I kind of wonder if they might pull Champa out from there and have him be part of that. I'm going to go Edge. Did you say you're going Edge as well, Greg?
Yes.
Yeah. And then are we saying Hell in a Cell match for them next month? And I would think AJ has to get the win there. And ultimately, that would show that AJ was the winner in the war for a bit. But I'm going to go Edge tonight as well. I think, like you said, I like somebody, if it's a hooded person, maybe you still don't know who you're going to unveil until tomorrow night. So you could kind of play that up. But I do think it's almost the same thing as WrestleMania, where we slight distraction, AJ loses, and we're off to the races on who's the newest member tomorrow night. So I'm going to go Edge as well, and then I think my vote or my call is I think I want to put Ciampa in there. I think Ciampa could be psychotic. Give him that heel side. He already kind of went
Mhm.
after Ali, so you kind of have that feud off to the side, and you could have Edge kind of be in the corner of Ciampa in that feud. So I kind of like that idea as well if we go that route. So
That does make more sense just because the whole Ali and um, Ciampa aspect has had no explanation at all.
mhm.
And doing this and putting him in Edge's faction, you can explain everything crystal clear in one promo. And okay, now it makes sense. He was our agent on the outside, and he took out or Ali because XYZ.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I'll have no idea what the idea with Champa and Ali is. It's not really putting them either one of them in a good light. So
yeah,
I would love to see him in there just because even though he's a veteran, he's a you know black and gold original, but he's still a newbie to you know the main roster. So he would make more sense in the Judgment Day than Finn would.
yeah, and especially like we said, giving Champa that kind of seal of approval with Edge, I think gives you something to kind of give him hope that he could do something on the main roster.
True.
Whatever run he does. So. And here we go, Greg. I don't know what to make of this match. We thought Ronda would have picked up the win last month, and she didn't. And I think maybe with this being the I quit, they want Ronda to be the person to make Charlotte say I quit. Because, like we assume neither woman has said I quit. So on a 60-40 vote, Greg, I'm going to say Ronda wins. But it's like I said, I'm 60-40, which is not not the highest of confidence, obviously. But I don't think the match is going to be that good. I quit matches are tough because whenever they're on the ground that first time, they start asking them right away. I kind of hate that. I think you need to give it a little bit, but it's kind of like the last man standing where the first fall they start counting, and you're just like you just fell down, like you haven't even gone to them yet. So.
Right.
Now, Ted, this could be another one that could be in the cell because maybe if Charlotte keeps winning, it wouldn't surprise me if they try for the cell match with Ronda. I mean, Ronda obviously knows how to work in a cage, so that would make sense. So there's, like we said, there's a few matches that could end up in the cell next month for your But I'm going to go Ronda. Not very confident, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if Charlotte keeps winning here. What's your call, Greg?
This is the match I'm looking forward to the most, and it's just because, and I don't know what the cross section is of the pro wrestling fans and MMA fans, but I'm going to go back to that because I am a MMA homer, going all the way back to the first season of The Ultimate Fighter when the UFC was purchased by the Fertitta brothers and relaunched, with rules and regulations, restrictions, and not, human cockfighting anymore, as the senators used to call it. And it catapulted the UFC into the stratosphere. Um, and on that, I saw Ronda Rousey from her beginning in a company called Strikeforce, and the UFC eventually purchased Strikeforce, and this was after Dana White came out publicly. The man who is Dana White is to the UFC what Vince McMahon is to WWE would be the easiest way to explain it. He's the leader. He is the head. Anybody has an issue with UFC, you have to go to Dana White. And so um, Dana at one point said women will never fight in the UFC, but he pretty much bought the UFC or bought Strikeforce to get Ronda Rousey because she had become a phenomenon in Strikeforce because she was coming through and all of her matches or all of her fights were ending in one round and usually under 1 minute. She was a supreme juggernaut.
Yeah.
And Dana White brought her in, gave her their inaugural title, and then had her as the main event, the first ever female main event on a UFC pay-per-view card. And of course, she won, and it took 3 years, a little over 3 years, for the field to catch Ronda as far as her dominating everybody they threw at her, and until she ran into Holly Holm, that knocked her around the world, her first loss, and then the Amanda Nunes fight, her second loss, and then that was it for her UFC career. But for 12 fights in a row, she was the greatest female fighter on the planet. And we'd only seen her be indestructible until her last two fights. So, all that being said, we've never seen her submitted. We've seen her, take a knockout loss, but we've never seen her submit in martial arts, and we've never seen her submit in her short run in WWE so far. She's taken losses, but she has not taken any submissions. Now, add that to the fact that we haven't seen that out of Charlotte either. I haven't seen Charlotte ever tap out. So, just out of that aspect alone is where the intrigue comes in. So, we were all saying they should have a submission match. This is pretty much as close as they can get.
Yeah.
And it pretty much is a submission match. You have to say I quit. So, I'm loving it from that aspect that these are the two women who are most likely to never say I quit in any situation. So that's the compelling part for me. That's why I will stop everything I'm doing and just link into this fight. And that's what it's going to feel like, is a fight. From the the pull apart that they had on the last Raw, or was it?
SmackDown.
I believe it was Raw, SmackDown. Yeah, the go home show. Yeah. I think it's gonna be more of that. You're gonna have, your wrestling segment, but the more brawling that it is, which I think that's where they're going, the better it's gonna be. So it's gonna be a 5-star match, no, but it should be like the most brutal, the most violent match on the card, and that's pretty much what I'm looking forward to. As far as the finish, I'm going to go with Ronda too because it feels like that's the way they're leaning with her. Like you said, taking those losses at WrestleMania, and not really getting an upper hand on Charlotte yet. Um, and I can't see how, but it may be, going back to the armbar. Too much attention's been put on the ankle lock now, and maybe going back to the armbar. I don't know, but somehow Ronda will figure out how to get Charlotte to say "I quit," and I'm hoping it's not like my favorite match ever, which is Magnum TA Tully Blanchard in the original "I Quit" match. And if anybody hasn't seen that, need to go back and watch it because that is what an "I Quit" match should be. Um, Still stands up today. YouTube it; it's amazing, and they set the bar and nobody's managed to cross it. Um, so I'm hoping we get something like that. But moving forward, I remember the AEW had an "I Quit" match, and they brought up that Tully never said "I quit." What happened was the referee asked him, "Did he quit?" with the microphone in his hand, pushing it up to Tully's face, and Tully was screaming yes. So he didn't say "I quit," but he said yes to the answer to the question. So I'm wondering if maybe they go back to that. Um, and that's what chapped me because when they were talking about the "I Quit" match and the original match with Magnum and Tully, they said Tully never said "I quit." No, that match ended because he said yes when the referee asked him, "Did he quit?" So I'm wondering if that's going to be the finish, going back old school to Magnum and Tully, and Charlotte can say, "I didn't say I quit," and use that as her out. So I'm hoping that's not it because I hate that semantic nonsense there because it does kind of rain on the parade of the original. But however way it goes down, I think Ronda is going to get the win. But that's just a little insight into how they may go with the finish.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely wonder, like, I mean, because they have her saying I never tapped out, even though they have it on camera. So something like that could make sense to
Yeah.
kind of play into that. And well, last up, Greg, Roman Reigns, who's been all over the news this weekend. Twitter, I think, was blowing up with the fact that he gave a little speech last night saying, "I don't know when I'll be back to Trenton, New Jersey. I'm entering a new phase, possibly soon." And it's funny because you would have thought people would have thought that Roman's like gone tonight. I'm like, he's going to be around for a little bit, Greg. Like, let's ease the brakes. He's gonna probably do Hollywood if he goes there. He'll be back. Like, I don't think he's done yet. What will he be on maybe next year, last shows? Sure. But I still think we got a little bit of months left before Roman starts slowing the brakes on his career. But you would have thought that Twitter thought like, he's going to lose tonight and, take his ball and go home or something weird like that. But this is almost like a house show match. I feel like, like just we're just going to throw the faces and the heels. We didn't get any of the stipulations we wanted, Greg. I mean, this is just a tag team match. So it loses its luster. And, it's still going to be a strong match. I mean, you're probably going to have the faces go over just so they can keep building up. I would think Roman's not going to be pinned. I just saw the stat right now, Greg, through the Power Twitter. Roman Reigns has not been pinned in 871 days. 800. That's two calendar years. Like that's a pretty good run to not being pinned. So I feel like one of the Usos, unfortunately, Greg, probably main event Jay, because for being main event Jay, he doesn't really win a lot, does he? In main event,
Right.
but I feel like either Orton or Red are going to pick up the win over them. You'll have Drew looking strong. I think it's going to be a nice physical match. Big Ben's here. Thank you, Big Ben, for showing up. Sorry, we're just finishing up, but we can go through our picks real quick for you, and you can of course throw in your picks, and we'll throw them out there. But I still think, Greg, it's all about building up Drew until the clash at the castle. I think that's where we need Drew to have the big shiny moment at Cardiff on a UK pay-per-view for the first time since 1992. Just building him up there and kind of rolling with it. So, yeah, I just think this will still be a good match. It's going to main event. There's going to be it'll be like the greatest hits. All the big moments will be hit, but in the end, is it going to mean much? Probably not until we see what's going to move on. It sounds like they are never going to do the title unification for the tag team titles, even though that is needed. And it's almost like they don't know what to do with Roman as double champion, because we also have the backstory, Greg, of Shinsuke Nakamura. We kind of had him stepping up on Friday night saying, well, I still want to answer the challenge of Roman. So maybe you could do that at Backlash if you want to have Drew somehow take a back seat till then. Fill that in until Drew, I don't know what Drew does next month then, but, I think we'll still get Riddle and Orton against the Usos somehow. They'll keep teasing they're going to unify the titles, but somehow they won't, but I think this is all the faces tonight. And, yeah, still think it's a good match. What about you?
Yeah, I was gonna say boo this match, but I won't say boo this match. I'll say boo WWE creative, boo WWE management, and for and the reason for that is for teasing something for so long and then yanking it out from under us at the last minute. Um, this whole unified attack team titles bit of the bloodline storyline has been going on since right before WrestleMania, and that's when it was first teased. And you go until the week before last, before you change course, and you take what was going to be an awesome unification match and break it up for no reason. And now we have a basic 6-man tag. I mean, the same type of 6-man tag we see on Raw or SmackDown every week. And we see on the poster it cards something to change, but it's just disappointing when this is supposed to be like the biggest match on the card, and then you just destroy it for no reason. I know it's behind the scenes things. Maybe Fox had a problem with it, or something with the networks and the executives, and just a bunch of legalese going on that we don't get privy to. But why else would you tease it for so long and then go to as far as putting it together in the ring and then say, oh, no, never mind. We're going to have a 6-man. Way to let the air out of the room. And so that kind of takes all the shine off this card for me, where I would have been looking forward to it at a 8.5 out of 10, and now my interest level is down to a 7, or between 6.5 and a 7, just because of this unfair swerve. I get it, it's probably politics or whatever, but it's bad party planning. You know what you're going to do when you're writing this stuff up weeks in advance, and then to just twist it with no real reason, just leaving us in the dark and expecting us to be happy with it is just wrong. The way you salvage this is you make it a winner take all match. That way you bring the interest level back up. The stakes are high, pay-per-view worthy, and this is the way that I was seeing you could take the title off Roman without him taking a fall. And like you, I got the baby faces winning, and how better to shift the titles from the bloodline over to RK Bro and Drew, and then set the chase from the other side with the Bloodline in pursuit. And this is an easy way for Roman to eventually get the title back. Um, and he loses no credibility for having taken a fall because he didn't take the fall. But he somehow lost his championship being involved in this match. So they've changed things on us at the last minute with this whole six-man business. They can go ahead and add a stipulation in at the last minute. They've done it before. They're known for it. And just make this a winner-take-all match. And now our interest is back up. Now, we want to watch this match. But I don't think they're going to do it. And it's just cold feet all around. And it's just is more questions than answers at this point. So uh, my interest level for this match, I still expect it to be good. It's pay-per-view. It's not like it's going to be a basic Raw match or a basic SmackDown match. It's going to have more bells and whistles on it. And it's going to be better because they're going to give it, I expect, about 20, 25 minutes. But my excitement level for this match is way down compared to what it could have been. So in the end, I'm still taking RK Bro and Drew as a way to kind of salvage what they've destroyed and hopefully build up, rebuild these storylines and, get Roman a worthy challenger and make this match with the Usos and RK Bro happen, at a later date, maybe for a bigger pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell or SummerSlam.
Yeah. And well, here's the question from Big Ben, and then you kind of mentioned it. So do you guys think they're doing all the unification because there isn't enough talent to run two brands? I think they got plenty of talent to run two brands. Honestly, I think it's the idea that Fox. Oops, wrong way. Fox wants their brand to be champion, have their champion, and then of course USA is like, well, we want somebody to be our brand champion, so that's why they're not doing obviously Roman is Roman, but I don't know when they're going to pull off the title of Roman. Like I said, I think maybe you could do that, that Clash at the Castle. Maybe Roman's in two matches. He has to face against somebody for the Universal title and somebody for the WWE title, and that kind of puts him on that. But I think there is plenty of talent for the two brands, Greg, and that's why they got the cold feet on unification of the tag team titles, because Fox wanted their champions and their brand, and USA Network was like, well, we need the same thing. So, all right, what do you think
but
about? Sorry, go
in
ahead.
that case, why do a unification at all? Because
Yeah.
walking around carrying two belts is not what you said we were going to get. It's going to be one champion, both brands, and one belt to rule them all. It's not walking around with two, not having to defend both. Unified means you are it. You are. There is no two brands no more. You represent on both shows, and whoever beats you, they're going to be the new unified champion. I still think they should get rid of the two belts and just make one new belt to signify the unified title. And they're just doing it all wrong. They've distorted the definition of what the unified championship is. If he's having to defend both titles, then it's not unified. To lose one of them and keep the other one, it's the same as winner take all, and then you still have to defend both. That's not what it is. So
Well, that's why, and I think that's why we haven't got one title yet. I think they know that they're not going to have one champion. Unfortunately, they booked themselves into a corner, Greg, with that whole idea. It made
exactly.
sense, but now like you said, they're almost having to backtrack and figure out how they're going to write themselves out of it. And I don't know, because right now, Drew's about the only guy that makes sense to go for the title. Nakamura is Nakamura. Sure, you'll get a great match out of it, but do we think he's anywhere near taking that title off Roman? No. And I don't know if there's any other names, Greg, right now. That's what that was also mentioned last night in all this hubbub about, Roman saying this stuff. Like, who's going to be the next top guy? Because everybody that you are probably going to mention is what, 35 and older, I bet. We could throw out Braun, we could throw out Carmelo, but they're still, a couple years away from
Right.
having the household name power and having the overall power. Like right now, let's just say, Greg, if Roman is gone, current active members, who is your next name that you want to carry the brands?
Well, I'm definitely going to wait a year
Mm-hmm.
for sure, but the names that come to mind are Braun and Gable Stevenson.
Yeah.
Just because we know his credentials, we know how amazing he is as an amateur wrestler, and from everything we're hearing, he's taken to the professional style like a fish to water. That being said, it's still going to take some time and some seasoning to get him camera ready, get him main roster ready, and build him to that larger than life status that he's going to need to beat Roman Reigns and have us buy it. Um, you know, he needs to have that it. He needs to be able to show that it in his matches, and he's going to need more competition than just um, Mr. Shoosh. He's going to need some big time matches, some to build up his street cred, and he hasn't even had an NXT match yet. So he definitely needs a year to get out there and do it. Let us see it, and then the night after WrestleMania when he comes out after as the next man up for Roman, then we have that moment of ooh, here we go, and we're bringing our wrists, get ready to see see something that we haven't seen before, and he can be the next big thing. Braun can be the next big thing. Um, those are like our two best options right now as far as guys who hit the mark as far as age wise, their ability, and having that star power, that it factor. Braun and Gable for sure. And I'll throw Carmelo in there too because he has that look, he has that swagger to him, and people will buy him for sure. So, um, do I see him beating Roman? Possibly not as likely as Braun and Gable,
Yeah.
but you could make that happen. Another year of great matches. He progresses as a wrestler and shows he has that ability. It's definitely possible. So those are the three that I see too as being the potential next man to carry the flag after Roman steps down to part time or runs off to Hollywood.
Here's an interesting comment from Big Ben. Gable Stevenson needs a Goldberg run. I think, like you brought up Ronda Rousey, I think him winning matches in like a quick manner would really be something. And I do wonder if I kind of wonder if they're obviously going to push him to the moon, Greg. Like he
Yeah,
is going to be shoved down our throats, to use a term that a lot of the, internet fans love to use just a few years ago. And you wonder if it'll be like the Kurt Angle where you just go undefeated. I don't know if he has the Goldberg look, that physique of Goldberg's. I think he has to kind of look like, he's going to win by submission more than just domination. And also Big Ben brought up Drew. And that's where I go back. If let's just say tomorrow night, Roman's like, hey, I'm out. I would probably push Drew. And I struggle though because I don't know if Drew McIntyre has that crossover. Like if I'm gonna, talk to a person who doesn't watch wrestling at all, they might know Roman Reigns. If I say, oh, he's The Rock's cousin, they can kind of put. But if I say Drew McIntyre, they're gonna be like, who? And that's kind of tough. Like there's nobody, right now that I think a person off the street could name, other than, like if you say WWE, they'll be like, oh yeah, you mean Hulk Hogan and The Rock and Stone Cold and John Cena? I mean, I don't know if many, as much we love Roman, as much as the internet loves Roman, Greg, I don't know if Roman Reigns still has hit that crossover point. Do you think he has?
He's
It's going
closer
to
than
be that
anybody
movie
else, but
career, like Batista.
right. He's close. He's getting there, but he's not there yet. Um, he's the closest as anybody has been. But it's an interesting question. If Roman decided to walk away a month from now, at Hell in a Cell, who becomes next man up? And like I said, with Braun and Gable still being a year away at least before they're ready, um, somebody right now, absolutely, I can see Drew being that guy. He hasn't had his moment in front of the fans, winning the title and going on a championship run with fans in attendance. So he would be the odds-on favorite.
Maybe Cody.
But that's another thing I was thinking was Cody. Now that time would be perfect for him. Um, he would catapult him to the moon by being the man that beats Roman. Um, Dark Horse that I think you mentioned on our year-end show last year, a name that we don't expect, like Montez Ford. He would be a great story.
Because
And,
I think him and Bianca have that chance to cross over. I really do.
abso- yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you saw it. They were interviewed at the Kentucky Derby yesterday. And as you can imagine, they were both, um, fashion forward and looking fantastic um, in this gear that Bianca created from scratch.
I still
And
can't
they
believe
look like a
she
million
pays all the
bucks.
gear. Like, what? Like, that is
I know,
crazy.
right?
Like,
Absolutely.
like she was even up, I think she said she was up last year to like one or two, bedazzling, or putting gems on her gear. Like, that just, but I think they're the closest. Maybe Seth and Becky, could they
Hmm.
kind of do that crossover? Like the Miz and Maurice.
Right.
Maybe Seth and Becky. But I think Cody is great. Or Big Ben mentioned Lashley. I think Lashley could cross over a little bit. I think he could do ESPN spots, Greg, and show up at NASCAR or NFL games or basketball games and kind of carry the WWE brand. I don't know if he wants to. I think Lashley's, kind of, but I do think Drew is like, give me the ball and let me run with it. Let me show up at, the college football championship, or let me show up at the Daytona 500. I mean, I know I'm going to be a homer here, Greg, but I'm surprised that, WWE doesn't hook up with the Indianapolis 500 that has 250,000 people in the stands. Get a couple WWE superstars there. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, wrestling and redneck wrestling. I mean, what
Right.
more? What more could you want? But I know they sometimes have a little. Way back in the day, I remember we had a couple NASCAR like paint schemes. I think for WCW or WWF at the time. So I'm surprised we don't try to see a little alliance with, and that could almost help the IndyCar series. Getting some WWE eyes on there. So there's
Hmm.
plenty of chances, but like we said, until Roman shows up on red carpets, like for the Oscars or something, the Emmys or wherever. I, if I went tomorrow and went to my school, Greg, and asked regular old people, hey, do you know who Roman Reigns is? They're gonna say no. I'd have to say, oh, he's The Rock's cousin. They'd be like, oh, like that's cool. They won't know who he is. I mean, unfortunately, right now. But now next year, or in 2 or 3 years, who knows? Does Roman make that crossover and it work? I don't know. That's I'm curious too. Like we said with the whole inspiration, iconics, like them trying to break in the acting career. I I'll be curious to see if Roman will do it. You know, does he have the, you know, Jason Momoa kind of has the wet hair look on lockdown, Greg. So does Roman
True.
need to, you know, cut up those long locks, shave it, you know, have a little more clean cut look, and you know, go that route. But I will be curious to see if Roman could go that route as far as it goes. But yeah, we're still, like you said, I still think we're a year and a half away from it. You know, Roman is not walking away tomorrow unless there's some sort of, you know, movie picture deal worth what, millions upon millions of dollars. Like maybe some 3-part, you know, Marvel series that's like, hey, we need you. But Roman is not walking out that door yet. I mean, but you would have thought, Greg, last night when people saw that speech on Twitter, you would have thought that Roman is going to walk out the door like tomorrow, which is not happening. So, yeah. Well, that's all I got, Greg. Unfortunately, your Suns took the L there, 2-2.
Yep, they did.
Are you still calling the Suns to win?
Absolutely.
There you go.
You know, it's not a what do you say? It's not a series until the home team loses. So
That's true.
both sides did what they were supposed to do. The Suns won their two in Phoenix. Dallas won their two in Dallas, and now it's going to go back to Phoenix for the final 3 games, and we're going to see the Phoenix Suns close this thing out. So
I forgot they do the 2-2 and 3. You know, 3.
yeah, right. So and that's the way it's going to be because the Suns have the first or home
Yeah.
court for the entirety of the playoffs as long as they play. So, um, you know, nothing to worry about. They're going to go back home to Phoenix and they're going to blow the doors off the Mavericks in the next 2 games. So you heard it here first. It's going to happen. Book it.
I am worried about my Memphis Grizzlies after getting blown out last night.
Yeah, and
I
Morant getting
think,
hurt.
and Morant getting his knee pulled, we should say, from the looks of the replay of that. What's up with the Warriors and being a little dirtier plays than usual? I know they've always had borderline players like that, like Bogut, Zaza. You know, had a couple. I mean, Draymond. He might as well be the John Stockton of today, where you know he pulls those plays and then it's like he's the victim prior though, Greg. He pulls them and then it's like, no, I didn't. You know, he's like the denier of any dirty play. And,
Yeah.
I mean, all it takes is a replay to show that he's dirty. It's like
He's like new school Rodman.
yes, yeah, like he'll lay a little into it, but the Warriors are up 2-1 there, won by 20 something I think last night. So, and then yeah, I think we got everybody else up 2-1. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting couple weeks too for AEW, kind of seeing what they'll head into. Double or Nothing. We'll get caught back on that next week. Double or Nothing is the last Sunday of this month, Greg. So we'll have that to look forward to with CM Punk and Hangman Adam Page, and then Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa, which will be probably a technical, you know, masterpiece right there. So,
Sure.
good time to be a wrestling fan right now. But appreciate everybody watching. Back next week at 6 p.m. Kind of getting caught up on, you know, what happened this week, what happens, you know, in AEW wise, and we'll get you guys next week with our full out show of shows with everything caught up. So thank you as always, Big Ben being in the chat. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next week.
Peace.